What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome finally back to the Nerdwide podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Haynes, with my good friend and co-host, who is not in front of a movie poster this week, Mr. Chris Rivers. Now, listen, guys, we've been banging out a lot of Reacts videos, so make sure you're looking at those. But that has been one of the things we've talked about over the past 2 weeks was, for some reason, Discord has messed up Chris's ability to put backgrounds behind him. Can't find anything out. Know why? It was an update, and just ever since then, it's broken.
Yeah, I saw something where it could be that it's only available on PC right now.
Oh,
Um,
one of those dirty Mac users.
yeah.
Whatever works though.
Yeah.
Chris, how's the past 2 weeks been? Like I said, we've been banging out, 5 episodes or 5 reactions on Nerdwide Reacts, all
Mhm.
doing really well. Gained 4 new subscribers from those, so hopefully they are coming
Welcome.
from there to see what the
Yeah.
podcast is all about. But,
I'd like to say welcome to those 4 people.
right, hopefully we didn't lose
Uh,
you already.
And hello to the other 20 that have been with us for a hot minute.
Mm-hmm. 2 years.
So, yeah.
Crazy. Good stuff, man. See, 2 weeks has gone by. Easter has happened. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's been crazy lifestyle wise. Jamie reorganized my shelves, so
Yeah.
they look much better and just much more organized. So I appreciated that. I've really wanted to get this plug fixed. It's been broken since we had the house for 2 years now. It's like the security system wires come through there, but we don't have a security system, and it hasn't been one in the house for decades. So I don't know. But
You just told everybody in the world that you don't have a security
okay, I don't
system.
have that security system. I have one, and let me tell you, it's the best of the best. No one will ever
Bomb.
beat it. It's the top of the top. Anyways, quick housekeeping before we get into episode 109 of the Nerdwide podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to either our YouTube or podcasting service of your choice. If you enjoy the show, make sure you leave us a thumbs up on YouTube or give us a good rating for your podcasting app. Again, Nerdwide Reacts playlist is popping off on YouTube, so make sure you're catching up on all your latest trailers that we have talked about, and all of them we have not seen, and those are our first times watching those as well. If you don't enjoy what you see or hear, let us know down in the comments down below. We can't fix anything if we don't know how, if it's broke, quite honestly. I know Chris told me he was watching one earlier 2 weeks ago, and the intro was a little bit more mute than everything else was. So we bumped that bad boy up, and we're good. We're running that way. But again, didn't know if he didn't tell me. So
Right.
also, if you want to do more than any of that, you go to patreon.com/nerdwide. 3 different tiers for 3 different monetary values for a monthly subscription fee there. A bunch of different things you can do, one of which is like you could tell us what you want us to read, watch, listen to, play, any of that kind of stuff. You want us to review it, you want us to talk about it, subscribe to us there, and it shoots us an email, and we can go from that spot. Chris,
Yes.
have you been watching anything over these past 2 weeks? Anything fun? Anything exciting?
Uh, I mean, I've watched a lot of TV. I've gotten caught up on some stuff. I'm 1 or 2 episodes from finishing season 1 of Quantum Leap. Um,
Have we talked about me watching that on here?
a little bit, yeah.
Okay. I haven't watched anything else since the last time
You
we
s-
talked to them.
you said real scientists aren't that sexy,
There's
so
no way. I've never seen one that looks like any of those people. But,
but yeah, I've caught up on that. I'm caught up on NCIS, on Young Sheldon, all the broadcast shows that I watch. I caught up on.
well,
So
keep young Sheldon in your brains, listeners and viewers, because we're gonna have a good Big Bang Theory think off next week, because we got a
yeah,
little bit of news that came from Max. And people might be wondering, okay, what's Max? Well, it's HBO Max and Discovery Plus combined, and they're just calling it Max because that makes
Mac.
sense. So
Yes.
we'll talk all about that next week. We've got a lot. We've got 6 episodes of our TV shows to catch up on and talk about and recap and review. So we're gonna do those and just leave all of our bigger news stories to next week, especially since there's only gonna be one episode of Titans to watch, and Gotham and Superman and Lois are taking a one. Okay, excuse me, Gotham Knights. I can't say Gotham because that's the hit Fox show.
Yeah.
Um, so they're taking a hiatus for a week, and I'm not sure why. I tried looking into it. The only thing on the calendar is tax day, so I'm like, I don't think they would take off for that. But
With Superman and Lois, though, they take a lot of breaks anyway. So
well, hopefully we're not in there. Hopefully we're not doing that this year, Chris. So far, so good. We've had 5 straight, and hopefully we're not doing that this year. So
yeah, well,
we will see. Let's see. I watched The Last Kingdom for the past 2 weeks. That's just been my comfort show. This will be my 6th time rewatching the series. There's 5 seasons, and the reason being was The Last Kingdom: Seven Kings Must Die movie, which is like the finale of it all, came out this past weekend. I watched it last night. Cried a lot at the end, just so not really so much because certain things happened, just because it was an end. It was an end, and they did a really good job, I felt like, at the end. A lot of people online, this is my unofficial review of it, but it was a lot of people say rushed, which I do see. Like, they left a lot of characters out. I think for casting reasons, they couldn't get them in to do it, to finish it, which is normal. I mean, everyone's obviously moved on with their lives. The series ended 2 years. No, ended in 2020. 2022 is when Series 5 came out. So it's been a year since then. Obviously, people have moved on because that was the official finale of the show. And then Netflix said, hey, we'll give you a movie. We're not going to give you another season, but we will give you a movie. And they did that, and I cried. And I love it. And I think if you're a fan of The Last Kingdom, you have to watch the movie because it wraps everything up. I don't want to say prettily with a bow. It does some characters very dirty, but other characters it does really well. But now I'm going to save up and buy all 13 books, which will eventually sit up here. But apparently there's a very big deviation from the books and show. So
now, Jamie just redid those shelves.
yes,
and you're going to buy 13 books and
it'll fill up this shelf right here.
Yeah, but where's the stuff on there going to go?
We won't worry about that. Yeah, we won't worry about it. Other than the TV wise, that's all I've been watching. And then Grizzlies playoffs. I've watched a little bit of baseball, not as much as I should, obviously. It's just been, I don't know, man. It's been weird not having to watch anything. I've just been like really delving into Last Kingdom because I wanted to catch up and refresh before the movie came out. But now I'm like, okay, I need to catch up on Mandalorian. There's a lot of movies I want to watch just because I like Spider-Man No Way Home. I want to watch again for the 3rd or 4th time. Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse movie, I want to watch again for the 5th or 6th time just because we watched the trailer and I'm like, oh, I really have this itching to watch this again. But, you know, it is what it is. But listen, that's not what we're here for. Let's talk about all of these shows. We're going to start off with Superman and Lois. First one is Season 3, Episode 4, titled Too Close to Home, directed by Stuart Handler. We're going to Nerds and Beyond for this one. And if I not ramble, but if I talk too fast, let me know. Slow me down. If there's anything you want to talk about in particular, let me know. And we'll talk there. But there's a lot of reading, and we're going to get to it.
Yeah, you better have some water.
Yeah, I do. I've got a full water cup here. I debated on bringing 2 just in case, but I'm just going to take small sips. All right, nerdsandbeyond.com. This is by Haley once again. After assisting Superman on a mission, Sam presents Jordan with a few photos that clearly shows the back of his head, making him identifiable. I thought it was a really smart way to do this. Sam takes him to get his hair cut, but Jordan fights back because it's not something his dad ever did. But there's no time for carelessness. Jordan hops out of the car and storms off. Once Clark and Lois hear about the incident from Sam, they tell Jordan he needs to apologize and that Sam was just doing the right thing and trying to protect him. The next day, Jordan and Sam head back to the barbershop, only this time, once Jordan has apologized, Sam realizes that as a teen, everything feels like a bigger issue than it is. So he tells Jordan that he doesn't have to cut his hair and instead gives him his very own suit, accompanied by a pair of goggles his dad, which was Jordan's great-grandfather, wore in the World War II. Beautiful. I thought that was a wonderful thing, and I can't wait to see the suit. We haven't seen it. Spoiler alert, we didn't see it in the next episode after this.
I was going to ask you, when do you think we get it? I think they hold it for the season finale?
Oh, I don't know. I'm curious. Maybe this next one. You don't watch the trailers for the next episodes, do you? Okay, so I think this next one after episode 6 is Superman Needs Help. Like he's getting beat by the bad guys and Bizarro, I think it is again.
Yeah.
And
Spoiler
he
alert.
right, spoiler alert for the next episode here. Oh, I need to put the Superman spoilers up. I think that's when, because he's getting trained again in the Fortress of Solitude, and he's getting like, because he said he's talking to Lois, Jordan is, and she goes, "Your dad needs you. You have to go." And he says, "He tells me I'm not ready yet." And she goes, "I don't care. He needs you." And that's when the trailer ends. Like, okay, yeah, that might be where we get it. But just from the little, because it's a full black suit, and then he's got the
Uh-huh.
goggles, and I'm like, okay, this is actually gonna look really good. I think the goggles are a nice touch because his hair is a dead giveaway
Yeah.
that it's him. Anybody that knows those curly curls will know. So. Uh, Sarah is still staying with her dad, but Lana is trying to make contact to apologize. Sarah doesn't want to speak to her. She can't understand why her mom would strike her. Once Kyle learns that Lana hit Sarah, he calls Lana back and tells her he's coming over so they could talk. Sarah didn't tell him the whole story, though, what prompted Lana to lose it. It's still not okay, but Sarah was antagonizing her, so that wasn't okay either. Lana feels awful about it and really wants to apologize, so Kyle takes Sarah to the diner where they meet with Lana. Lana apologizes. She does want to be like her family and promises something that will never ever happen again. She loves Sarah and does not want to hurt her. The DoD has no idea how Superman's blood got into the wrong hands, considering it's been locked down and hasn't been used for anything. Not only does Superman not give consent, he was not aware that his blood was in vials. Their intentions were to use it were pure, hoping to use them in case of emergency if Superman finds himself in another situation where he almost dies again. They want to avoid anything like it happening again, but Superman has other plans. He uses his laser eyes to melt and destroy all the vials. That was very well done. That
Yeah.
whole point, he was not having it whatsoever. And I mean, you can't blame him with especially everything we've seen and know from all the Superman titles and properties. But that was cool. That poor lady she was like, oh, we were just going to keep it in case you ever needed it. It's very secure, very safe. And he obviously was like, obviously not too safe because my enemies have it. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, good point. Just melts it. Just melts everything. He says, okay, that's that, and just flies off. Jesus, what a badass. John Henry meets with his sister, Dr. Irons, on this Earth to ask about her brother. He wants to know what kind of person he was so he could keep his family and mainly Natalie safe. She tells him all she knows about what happened with Bruno, and 6 months after he got contact, he was murdered. She gets overwhelmed after they divulge a shared experience and says she can't see him ever again. John Henry understands the feeling very well. Unfortunately, John Henry has also been followed by Bruno's cronies who have been taking photos of him. They bring John Henry in to speak to Bruno, who shows him the photos, followed up with one of his sister. If he wants her safe, he needs to walk away from this life. He hits the button on his watch to retrieve his suit and tells him to go to hell before pushing past and flying out the window where his suit meets him. Put a little break there. Very Iron Man-esque. And this whole scene, I think for this episode, for most of this episode, John Henry stole it for me. Just the whole him meeting Bruno, him talking to his sister. The CGI was very good. Him jumping off, leaping into a suit to save his sister was very well done. It was very Iron Man-y, so of course I loved it. But I thought it was very, very, very well done.
Yeah. The Bruno character, and we get more. I think it's in the next episode about why he does what he
Mm-hmm.
does. So you kind of get it, but at the same time, it's like, dude, you're still doing bad stuff.
Right. It's a
I
very
kind of
Lex
thought,
Luthor-y villain.
I kind of thought John Henry Irons might, you know, just say, look, those people look like my family members, but I don't know them,
Right.
and just crush him right there.
I should be done with
I,
it.
I was kind of wanting it to happen,
Yeah.
but you know,
What in the script?
no, no, I didn't write that, so
Right. They find where his sister is, and the very last second detonates the bomb attached to her. Once she's safe, John Henry goes back to Bruno's and threatens him. Bruno sends a few of his own back. He won't kill him because if he does, his family all over the world, including the ones in New Orleans, will also be in danger. All he has to do is tell his men waiting there to kill them. Bruno then tells him to leave and never come back. This is where this episode gets fun, and I absolutely loved it. Jonathan pays a visit to Candace's where he runs into her dad. He knows he was the one that stole his truck and her dad threatens him. He doesn't want John spreading any more lies about him, but he isn't. He strikes John across the face and says next time it'll be more than just his fist. John heads home to Lois, who questions him and then sees the bruise forming on his eye. He doesn't want to tell her at first because of her chemo treatments and Clark telling them at the beginning of the episode to give her a break for the day, but eventually he tells her and she takes both him and Jordan with her to visit Candace's dad. He answers the door and Lois sits right in his face. She's not scared of men like him. He's not above putting his hands on women and flashes her his gun. John and Jordan try to defuse the situation, but Lois has it handled. They quickly leave after she sends him a threat of her own. Very, very good scene. And it's crazy because you still see Jordan starting to buck up a little bit. Like you see his posture change once she sees the gun. And it was more of like a protective posture. And then quickly Lois said, no, I've got this. Because she knew it was about to happen. And I was like, yeah, Jordan's not having that. Very cool. Once Clark gets home, Lois informs him about Candace's dad hitting John and stealing his truck. Clark looks confused and upset, but turns to anger and rage once he hears about the gun. He goes to the diner and spots him before... I'm going to stop right there first. Tyler Hoechlin, phenomenal actor here. You see him visibly get upset, and he starts to storm out of the house. Lois says, this is not a Superman issue. And he says, I'm not going as Superman. And then walks out the door. I was like, oh my God, this is great. He goes to the diner and spots the dad. I forget the dad's name. Spots Candace's dad before going up to him and introducing himself as John's dad and Lois's husband. This time he attempts to punch Clark, but Clark catches his arm, slamming him into the table. If he ever threatens his family ever again, Clark will find him. He rushes out of the diner, leaving a distraught Candace behind. Clark takes Candace back to their place, and Candace apologizes for her dad's behavior, but he's all she has. Lois chimes in to tell her she also has them, offering to let her stay with them until she finds a place more permanent for her.
So let's talk about the diner room.
Yes, that. Oh man, it was so good.
At first he doesn't take a swing at him. He goes to push him, and it doesn't.
Didn't even move at all. And you get like visible confusion from him, and I think it was really well done and shot well, because it's like from the diner, the behind the diner bar perspective, and you can see Lana. I forget his name every single time. Kyle and Sarah sitting at the diner having their conversation, and then you have these two right here in front, but you can still see them in the background. And it was so funny because Kyle says like, don't want to do that when he stood up and bucked up to Clark. And then he pushed him, and Kyle goes. It's like it was very. I rewatched it multiple times because I had this scene spoiled for me on TikTok. Don't know how. I had no idea how this got into my algorithm, but I had this spoiled for me, and I was like, oh, I wonder what the context is to this, because the episode isn't cut directly where he leaves the house. It goes straight to the diner. It goes from him leaving the house, and then there's a John Henry Iron scene, and then the diner scene. But the TikTok had it all cut together, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. But very well done.
I love the there's just this little subtle cutaway. Kyle starts to get up like he's going to help Clark, and Lana just was like, no, you stay, because she knows, she knows that's Superman. Right. He doesn't need you.
Yeah. Well, he knows now too. The whole family, but the little child. He doesn't know about John Henry Irons. He knows about the Superman family though. He learned that at the end of the last season. Okay,
I couldn't remember if he knew yet or.
Yeah, he just for some reason he didn't know about John Henry, which I'm like.
That's like
that kind of goes all in it. So, whatever. Okay. Let's see. After meeting with both Clark, John, and Henry, Lois feels awful about what happened to John's sister. Once John Henry could put proper security measures in place for his entire family, Clark will go after him. Lois thinks they don't have to wait that long, though. If she could get treatment at his facility in Hogs Bay, maybe she can infiltrate that way. In a public place so they won't harm her there. Only Bruno has other plans. He wants to know exactly why Lois is seeking out chemo treatments at his facility, and he's going to get to the bottom of it himself. This is one of, again, we have said it every episode, I understand, another great Superman and Lois episode. It's like from everybody. I think Natalie was the only one underused in this episode, but everybody else was on their A game, and like if I could recommend any season so far, it's season 3, just because every episode's been knocked it out of the ballpark. That being said,
Yeah,
up with the next one.
I would have to I'd have to rewatch season 2
hmm
in binge style because that one was so interrupted
Yes, the
that you
COVID
just
breaks hit them way too hard on that one.
yeah.
Um, but I'm right there with. I want to rewatch all of them, and I should before every new season. But here we are. We still don't have news either. If this is going to be the last one, if we're continuing on, or what's going on with it. I don't think this will be the last one.
They
Um,
wrote it as if it could be.
right, and they better not be, because this is a banger after banger, and eventually, because of Gotham Knights, I don't think that's going to stick around. Then what are we going to talk about every week, Chris? I mean, we got to have something to show. Can't just take it all.
Well, we still have Invincible, we have The Boys, we have
It's true.
Marvel content.
Okay, you know,
James
that's a good
James
point.
James Gunn will be putting out some TV
We've got
for DC
backlog
stuff.
stuff to catch up on. We can do as
You know,
well.
we could go back and rewatch Gotham. We could,
Yeah, you're bringing everyone's attention back to that one of Superman and Lois, season 3, episode 5. I did not write the the episode of this one. It is Head On, and this one was directed by a small guy named David Ramsey.
never heard of him.
Never heard of that guy. He doesn't dig anything either. Nerdsandbeyond.com by Haley. Once again, Sarah and Lana are out to eat when Junior, Mayor Dean's son, spots them and walks up to them at the diner. Lana asks how he and his mom are doing, but he doesn't want her to act as if she cares. Lana issued a statement, but he knows she doesn't mention anything he did for the community. He knows she cheated to beat his dad at the dance. Junior is still clearly upset, so Sarah meets with him in the parking lot to talk to him. They exchange a flashback back and forth when Lana catches them after looking for Sarah. They were drinking out of a flask. He heads inside and Sarah explains why they were doing it. He was just upset about his dad. It wasn't anything personal. Lana says next time, just don't drink. Which, we're still kind of keeping this whole mayor storyline alive, which I get, but I think that should be closed now. Like because she doesn't want to. She's not going to post in the Smallville Gazette about how bad her dad, the mayor, is. So we're not going to do that.
Right.
Candace drops a major bombshell on John that she'll be moving in with her aunt in Topeka, which is 4 hours away. She has been living with the Kent family, which is very funny and so very teenager. At the beginning of the episode, Jordan's like, she takes forever, uses all the hot water, and she goes, she's got to have it to talk to. And she comes downstairs and very, very sweet to Lois, is like, hey, I made this for you for your treatment today. If there's anything else I can do, let me know. And then she drops his bombshell at school on Jonathan. He tries to make it work by asking, we don't even, that was not even talked about. So Jonathan and Candace are driving back to the Kent house. They see Kyle broken down on the side of the road in his truck. So Jonathan jumps out and says, hey, Kyle's, or Mr. Cushing, is there anything I can do to help? Do you need any assistance or anything? He says, you know what? You've been the first person with the past 7 cars to pass by that stopped to ask for help. And he said, hey, he said, I forget how he asked it. He said, have you ever thought about doing anything not firefighting? He said something, a certain phrase he said. Anyways, and Jonathan was like, he goes, I'd like to be interested in that. He said, when are you free? He said, well, I work at the local hardware store he's been working at for 2 seasons now. During the week, he said, what about weekends? And Jonathan was like, yeah, I can do weekends. He said, that'd be great. So he's going to be a volunteer firefighter. So he tries to make it work by asking Kyle if he can volunteer during the week, so he has his weekends free. Kyle tells him he's going to have to decide what's most important to him. When he pulls Candace aside to tell her he's going to quit volunteering firefighting to spend time with her, she stops him in his tracks and tells him that he can't. He and his family have sacrificed so much for her that she cannot let him do that. They both want to see each other. They're just going to have to make it work somehow. Spoiler alert, 4 hours is a long way away, especially for high schoolers, so I don't think that's going to work out.
Right.
But we will see. It is a show where he's probably going to get his powers and he can fly to her, if I'm going to be honest. Make
You think so?
2-minute trip, a 4-hour trip to 2 minutes. So
You think so?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Lois and Clark are at Hobbs Bay to get Lois's second chemotherapy treatment. As Lois is looking for more info on Henry, Bruno catches her and denies any allegations Lois is throwing her way. I'm going to be honest, working in a hospital, there is no way she would have been able to leave any of these rooms or anything to go and research other doctors' offices and stuff like that. I know it's for the show, Chris. I know. But it took me out of it. Anything medical that's just not accurate takes me out of things. I can't help it. It's just how it is. So
Well, yeah, I mean, they did what they had to do to
yeah,
move the narrative
you gotta
forward.
move that plot forward. Um,
And she is the world's greatest reporter,
that's
so
true. Instead, he says he'll make sure she gets the best treatment possible, but she's not going to stop him from helping the people of his community. He pulls the electric blinds up and shows her his state of the art research facility and gives her a tour of it. After the tour, Clark is waiting for Lois on the other side of the door. Bruno offers to hand over all the doctor's files so Lois could look at them personally. I'm like, see, and I was telling Jamie, because she watches this show with me, how great it is because of a villain. And see the same thing with Lex Luthor, why I love him as a villain. Because on face, he is very charitable, trying to help the community when nobody else is helping it. But you get into those basement levels, and he's doing some really, really sketchy stuff. But like this, I'm like, okay. Jamie says, okay, so let's be honest. Does the good outweigh the bad here? I'm like, right now, yes. I mean, he's got the state of the art cancer center, state of the art research facility to try and help his home community out. Uh, you know,
at the
is he like a mob lord? Sure. But,
Did he have Superman's blood stolen so that he could create his own group of
right.
superhumans?
Maybe. Innocent until proven guilty, Chris.
He also got the data that told him where all of the
All
what
the.
assets were
Yeah,
for the DoD.
I'm curious to see where that pays off at, or what happens there. While Lois is off snooping, Clark is chatting with two other women getting treatment. After seeing it firsthand and one of the ladies getting fatigued from her treatment, he realizes that Lois can't do anything and she needs rest. When he tells her this before the dance, she tries to deny it and go away because all she wants to do is see everyone dressed up and dancing. When Clark gets back from the raid, she's laying on the couch and tells him as much as she wants to go, she can't. Clark was right and she needs rest. When everyone gets home from the dance, Lois is still upset she didn't get pictures, which is a very, very accurate teenager thing. Like 100% accurate. Because it happens with our teenager all the time. Hey, make sure
Yeah,
you take a bunch of pictures. Gets home. Oh, I didn't take any pictures. Come on. Um, yeah,
it's a very weird thing, right? When you want the photos to have some memories, they didn't
none.
take any, but they take pictures of everything
Yeah.
else.
Oh, here's a tree as I'm, going down the road. Come on. Uh, whatever gets high. Let's see. Clark plays music and moves the table out of the way so she can still get her wish in the comfort of her own home with her loved ones. Now, I'm going to say something that this show is, especially this season, is doing really well, is the whole cancer perspective. Like it is showing what it does to a family, even if it is a super family. It's showing her. I want to know if this is a Betsy Tulloch story of cancer, or if it's someone in the writing room who's gone through it and has multiple times or something like that. But even having Clark talking to two people getting chemo treatments, and they even said my spouse is on the opposite side of this, stuff like that. It's just very really really well done.
What was it that the one woman, there was a word that she used for that feeling when she says that they all get to it eventually, no matter how much they want to fight, where they just think, maybe it'd just be easier to just let go.
Right. Mm,
And and you can imagine somebody getting to that point.
yeah. And it happens every single day, and unfortunately, it's the world we live in, and I've seen it. I mean, multiple times being at the bedside. It's rough, but I feel like this show does a really good job of portraying it from a lot of other people's perspectives on top of the patient, which is Lois Lane in this one. Like it's from the dad's perspective, it's from her perspective, it's from Clark's perspective, from her kid's perspective, her daughter
Her
from
dad,
another world perspective. I
her
mean,
dad.
yeah, and her dad is telling Clark to say, hey, she needs to rest and blah blah. And Clark's like, I'm trying, and she's
Yeah,
not
you
listening.
can't
You
make
can't,
her.
right? And Sam is just having a little hard time realizing that because he's this big general, and it's something he can't fix, and
Hmm.
it's a battle and a war he can't win, and
I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, right? But Superman doesn't. He doesn't get diseases like this.
no, he doesn't get any diseases.
And I wonder if they had, and I know it would have changed her, so that's why they didn't want to do it. But if they'd written it so that a vial of that blood got saved,
Mm,
and she could essentially be given Superman's blood.
right, and somehow eradicates it, which it still possibly could. I mean, who's to say Bruno? That's not like has a big breakthrough, and it's like so much diluted Superman blood cures cancer, and
Yeah,
she's like patient zero or something like that. And
maybe.
so, I mean, it's still
Because
possible,
because like you said, he did promise her that she'll get the best treatment,
right? So,
even though she's a pain in his butt.
yeah, I mean, it's so good. I love this storyline so much.
Yeah.
Mateo has been communicating with Sarah, who told him to visit Smallville to talk to Natalie himself. So he makes the trip, and Jordan finds him in town and brings him back to the farm. Sam doesn't seem too happy about it because Jordan breached all safety protocols by bringing him to the farm, but Jordan knows he's harmless. Natalie
Or is
says, see, that's his, Jamie's got a theory. Natalie says she'll give him her number this time. He offers to take her to the movies, but as much as she would love to, she has a Valentine's Day dance at the high school. Mateo offers to go with her, but he doesn't have a suit. He wants to go to town to buy one. At the dance, they're having a great time until Mateo goes to kiss Natalie. She pulls away and walks off, and Sam sees it. Following her outside, he asks if she wants to talk about it, but she doesn't understand what's wrong with her. Eventually, after talking to Sam, she heads back inside and asks Mateo to stay, but he knows he overstepped and apologizes. Jamie thinks we looked this guy up on IMDb because he's been an All-American, another CW hit show,
uh
and on IMDb it only has his first name, Mateo. That's all we know. Jamie is convinced that he's the son of Bruno, and just happenstance.
I could see that.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Son, nephew,
right.
something.
Just I don't know if it's too like I don't know if there's like any ill will behind it or like he was sent to her or anything like that because they just met at the party and hit it off. But I do think I think that's plausible that he's a
You
film
think it would
member.
be like a Romeo and Juliet story
Mm,
where the families are at each other's throats
it
and they're
could
like,
be.
but no,
Right. I
Romeo,
love him.
Romeo, where art thou, Romeo?
While Clark is getting ready to go to the dance, with Lois, Intergang swarms the DoD. They get access to all the valuable information as Superman fights a villain named Deadline. They find out about Bizarro and steal his body from one of the facilities. I love we're getting Bizarro back. That fight scene was really cool because how do you fight someone that you just phases through it all?
Yeah,
And it was really cool because
he
Superman threw
he
him into a
found a
wall.
way.
Yeah, threw him into a
Yeah,
wall, and he's just like, "It's too late." And what cracked us up while watching this episode, in most of your little hackery situations and file download movies and shows, it takes forever for these files to
yeah,
download. This one took less than a minute, and I was like, "Okay, so we're getting more like real life here."
yeah,
Because I mean, the fight scene happened, and because it's too late, and it's already downloaded. I was like, "Okay, finally, it's something that didn't take 3 hours to download and Superman to stop." But if I was Superman, I would come into the room, I beam the little thing, blast it, and then try to stop the guy. But
yeah,
whatever. Not in the
yeah.
script.
Well, yeah, right. But Bizarro is. Am I misremembering this, or did Bizarro? Didn't he have a breakthrough
Yes, he
when we
was
last
a
saw
good
him?
guy,
And he,
and then he died
yeah,
because he
yeah.
was.
So
They were fighting him, and he gets killed by the old general,
yeah,
and because he was trying to help them take him
so
down.
wouldn't it make more sense when they bring him back for him to be like, I'm not doing this again.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to be
Yeah.
somebody's puppet.
Well, Jamie was saying, why do they still have his body? And I'm like, fair point. Why does the DoD just have a Bizarro anti-Superman, whatever we call it, just lying around? I
Spare
mean,
parts.
yeah, spare parts, needed more blood, stuff like that. Well, he's dead. He's not gonna have blood. But that is all for Superman and Lois. This one and Gotham Knights going on a week break, so we won't have anything next episode for you for Superman and Lois or Gotham Knights. But we will have Titans as always to watch. But
Can
Chris,
I just say real quick
yeah,
before you get into this next episode? Creepy old lady alert. Okay? That's all I'm going to say.
creepy old lady alert.
For for the
And this one. Okay, I'm
yeah,
with you.
yeah, yeah.
Gotham Knights, episode 4 of Butchers and Betrayals, directed by Jeffrey Wing Shots. Couldn't find anything else on that guy. Going to nerdsandbeyond.com by Kalen. And there is a trigger warning for depicts suicidal behavior. A cry for help. The episode begins in a park as a frantic man with strange wounds runs through yelling, crying, and calling for help. He claims something or someone is after him while screaming, "They're coming for all of us." Right before running into a police officer who tries to calm him down, but it doesn't work, the man breaks down, grabs the officer's gun, and shoots in the air before pulling it on himself, ending his life. At the school library, Turner, Dwella, and the twins have bunkered down to use the school resources to help them with Alan Wayne's case file when Harper discovers something interesting. She finds photos of Alan Wayne's stab wounds. At the time, police believe the marks were not related and that it was his dementia that killed him. However, when the knife Colin had stolen from the Talon falls and hits the ground, they notice the mark left by the tip, which matches the cross-link marks from the photos.
Just the tip.
Just the tip. Meanwhile, during Mayor Hill's funeral, Lincoln March announces his candidacy for Gotham mayor, giving Harvey a run for his money. March even goes as far as to call the DA a two-faced politician. Is that a possible foreshadowing? At the police station, Harvey discovers a strange key in his blazer, but even stranger, it is not a key that he knows. Back at the Belfry, Carrie suggests breaking into the GCPD case files. Cullen now has to go back undercover, but this time he needs to put in place a flash drive called a rubber ducky, which will give them remote access. Once completed, Stephanie can pull up all the case files matching Alan Wayne's. They learn the man who shot himself in the park is a lawyer by the name of Pericles Jones, which is one of Bruce's Wayne's lawyers, which is his most trusted lawyer. Which I thought that scene was very cool with the rubber duck because he brings the coffee in to the guy and they have a little banter back and forth. It's small stuff like that I enjoy. Then of course he bumps into Harvey Dent, who doesn't recognize him because he's got glasses and a mustache on, because that's the Superman effect. Yep. Turner plans to break into the lawyer's house to find clues about the lawyer's death. Stephanie wants to go with him, but he tells her no. Harper, who does not want to be anywhere near Stephanie after the bomb defusing incident, goes with him instead. Dwella finds a book on the history of Gotham City mass murders. They learn about a famous knife thrower named Felix Harmon, who made his name in the 1900s. Felix was the best in the game, but had a dark history. When he was not performing, Felix used his knife skills to carve up innocent people and became known as the Butcher of Gotham. Why is this important? The knives he used are the same exact ones the Talon uses. Now, Felix has been dead for over 100 years, which makes you wonder how the Talon got a hold of all of his knives. Stephanie immediately jumps onto her computer and discovers that Felix has a living daughter, now named Eunice Monroe, living at a Robinson Park nursing home in Gotham City. Now inside of Pericles Jones' house, Turner and Harper discover the place trashed. Someone beat them to the job, or so they thought. A male voice tells them to turn around while holding them at gunpoint. The young man recognizes Turner and reveals that he is Jones's son. When the lawyer's son tells them his dad trashed the house after going insane, I want to talk a lot, I yawn. He and Turner believe the Court of Owls is responsible. The lawyer's son is familiar with the court and shows Turner and Harper all the scribblings on the walls. Quote, "The owls are in the house." Turner asks why the court would want to kill his dad, and the young man explains that Bruce Wayne met with Jones to change his will. The police believe Bruce died before he could change it, but in fact, Bruce did complete his will, and Jones tried explaining to the police and even reached out to Detective Ford. Bruce was not cutting Turner out, but Bruce did something that could change everything, and that is why the Court of Owls went after him. Love this. Like, we're still getting more Batman backstory here, and the whole Court of Owls thing is really well done, especially with what happens next in a little bit. But I'm still trying to figure out what was in the will that changes everything. That's what I'm curious about.
Because he didn't disinherit Turner.
Mm-mm.
So there was something else in the will, unless See, it would have to be something with the what's her name, Camille.
Mm-hmm.
It would have to be something to do with her, I would think, or something to do with Wayne Enterprises, and it's maybe people on the board that are on the court.
Ah, see, yeah. Man, I just don't. And I'm curious what it means. What is it? The quote? The everything's scribbled on the walls. The owls are in the house. I wonder, like, what house? Like, is it?
I I'm assuming it's Wayne Manor,
Mm,
or it could be Wayne Enterprises. Like they've infiltrated the board.
right.
They're they're everywhere.
This
Because
is.
Harvey has one of the
I.
watches, right?
He had one of the coins that he just randomly found on him. No, he stole it. He checked it out from the evidence locker.
No, but I mean, didn't he have? Because when all those Court of Owl watches were
Oh,
stolen,
that's
wasn't one of them
right.
Harvey's?
That's right. See, I think that's more foreshadowing to Two Face because clearly, I think it's in the next episode more so we figure it out. But he's being controlled by somebody because they're playing something over the phone and he doesn't remember anything. So I think we're seeing Two Face emerge, and I think the Court of Owls is using Two Face and his disease. But it's a
Yeah,
very very cool way to tell it.
because Two Face was known for flipping a coin, and now here you have
Mm-hmm.
a coin or medallion.
Very well done. I mean, it's a nice
Yeah,
way to, nice little
yeah,
cheeky way to do it.
yeah, definitely.
At the Robinson Park nursing home, Carrie, with Dwell in her convincing schoolgirl get-up, goes undercover to speak with Eunice Monroe about her dad. Eunice is a seemingly sweet older woman, a bit childlike and very much on the eccentric side. Carrie creates a narrative that they are doing a project in old Gotham, but Dwella skips the small task and asks Eunice about her murderous father. Eunice is thrilled to talk about her father, but begins speaking like he is still alive, which is impossible and comes across as crazy old lady rantings. The conversation turns when Eunice goes into excruciating detail about his murders. The older woman gets angry and threatens the girls to the court of owls. She did the whole little reciting the little poem about the court.
Yeah,
And I was like, oh man, this creepy old lady is not okay.
kind
Absolutely
kind
not.
kind of reminded me when she started reciting the the poem of back in the day with Nightmare on Elm Street, where
Mm.
you'd hear the kids singing the nursery rhyme about Freddy Krueger.
Oh. Well, she was talking about her dad. She goes, some people don't think you can scream. You can scream without your tongue, but it's true. You don't have to have your tongue to scream. And I was like, oh my god, stop! I don't like this.
He just cut out their tongues so he didn't hear the incessant pleas for their
Right. I
lives.
was like, God, it's so
Oh,
dark. It's creepy.
but that's Gotham.
Yeah, it's Gotham is a city on Long Island that still lives there. Lincoln March approaches Harvey to talk, though it's not the election he wants to talk about. The Court of Owls marched Lincoln with a coin, just like Bruce Wayne and Mayor Hill right before they died. And March is seeking Harvey's help since he knows more about it than he does. Do we believe that, Chris, or do you think that's a? There's two things here. I think it either could be he's trying to indoctrinate him. Mr. March is already in, and he's trying to
Hmm.
indoctrinate Harvey by playing, "Oh, hey, what do you know?" kind of thing. Or Mrs. March, the one he's had the affair with, is a part of Court of Owls, and that's how she's getting into his head and doing all this other stuff. I think it's one of those two possibilities here.
Yeah, because we see him get a call after he has disposed of something.
Mm-hmm.
And the next scene we see Harvey, he's waking up in Mrs. March's bed.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so did she summon him and in some way cause him to forget or space out or switch to a different personality? It's kind of like the Manchurian Candidate, right? I don't know if you ever saw the movie. They remade it with Denzel Washington, but the original had like Frank Sinatra and Lawrence Harvey and Angela Lansbury and all these folks in it. And what they would do is they would have like one of the triggers was a playing card. And when the
Mm.
person saw that playing card, they would go into the mode that they were assigned to go into.
Mm. I need to watch that. Oh, speaking of, have you seen this Frank Sinatra pop-up bar that's in Nashville?
I have.
We need to go to that. Let's
Okay.
let's keep that on the radar because I really want to go. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Okay. Cool.
Let's see. Left alone at the Belfry, Colin and Stephanie play around with the idea that the talons and eyes have a toxin used to drive his victims crazy, much like a hallucinogen. Cullen uses his experience with his alcoholic father as an example, and Stephanie hints that she also has gone through a similar experience. I'm going to say this because I'll probably say it again later on. I really, really, really like. I'm growing more on every character in this series, except Turner. And
Yeah.
I know we say it every episode, but like, I like Colin. Like, I'm really invested in Colin. I like Stephanie's backstory. Duella is such a cool and fun character. Even Carrie, like this past the episode 6 we'll talk about, or episode 5 we'll talk about. I really enjoyed her whole backstory, you know, being the perfect
Harper.
student and stuff like Harper. And I'm just like, then you get to Turner, and I'm like, just
Yeah. Because we just have it be these other people.
right. Yeah, I'm just this
Like,
guy's still here, so
yeah.
it just doesn't really bring anything to the table yet. Stephanie and Colin research what type of drug the Talon could have used on his victim. Stephanie reveals her mom's an addict. The shared experience brings the unlikely friends closer. Carrie and Duella soon return with the sign-in book that Carrie stole from the nursing home. When Duella rehashes that Eunice said about her father, Harper suggests someone in the court was staying in contact with her. And as soon as she does, Carrie notices that Eunice had a visitor named Cressida. Back at the precinct, Harvey attempts to check out the Athenian coin found at Bruce Wayne's crime scene and attempt to help Lincoln. However, Harvey already had it, which was news to him. At Wayne Tower, Turner unknowingly enters a Lonsdale when he surprises Cressida. The reunion is long overdue, but is over as quickly as it happened. Turner, not knowing Cressida destroyed the will or her ties to the court, asks for help, but in turn, Cressida pulls a gun at him right after he gets the call from Stephanie. Turner manages to get the gun away from Cressida, learning she has ties to the court. She helps the court by slipping a toxin into Bruce's food. The reason Gotham City belongs to the Court of Owls, Batman was a threat, and Turner was just collateral damage. Suddenly, the court shows up, donning their white owl masks. They give Turner an offer. He tells them where the other 3 are, and they will spare his life. Turner refuses. The court sends the Talon after him. Turner begins shooting him, but the bullets do not affect the assassin. Lights go out, and Robin jumps to the window just in the nick of time. Robin sets off an explosive device, temporarily stunning Robin and Turner. Robin and Turner escape through the Batcave with the Talon hot on their heels. Robin uses one of her explosive arrows to create an avalanche of rocks to crash down onto the Talon, allowing them to escape. Back at the Belfry, Turner opens up to Stephanie about Cressida's betrayal, and Colin confronts Harper about her prejudice towards Stephanie, which Harper admits is just jealousy, which is very well done. I thought I might add. She's like, she's the girl I could have been if we, I forget the exact words she used, if we grew up with money and parents that loved us or something like that.
Born into different circumstances.
Yeah, born in different circumstances, which is always a very psychological thing, but a big in psychology. Is it the environment or is it the predisposition that makes a person who they are? Harvey meets up with Detective Soto to discuss the forensic findings of the mayor's limo, but the only DNA they found was the mayor's. Harvey asks how the bomb got into the vehicle, in which Soto tells him a key to the limo is missing. Harvey, on a hunch, attempts to unlock the limo with the key he found earlier, and of course it works. Meanwhile, at Wayne Manor, the court collected the mangled body of the Talon. The court patently surrounds the lifeless body while the Talon reanimates himself. They didn't go in here and say, but they ran the fingerprints on the little jewelry box that they stole from, Duella stole from the old lady. And one of the fingerprints was Duella's. The other one was the father that's been dead for over 100 years.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. Good episode. I enjoyed this one. Not so much episode 5. I feel like this was a very good, drove the plot forward.
Right.
Episode 5, not so much. I'll take a
Well,
quick-
and the good thing about this too was that last reveal, because up until now you figure that Talon is a new person every so many years. Nope, it's the same dude.
somehow is still alive after 100 plus years, and obviously doesn't die. Which I thought was a very cool scene too, with all the main manor and the bodies reanimating.
Yeah, the cracking of bones,
Love it. Give it to me.
Tendons, and everything else.
Gotham Knights episode 5, titled More Money, More Problems. Director Nimisha Mukherjee. I'm sure I butchered that, and I apologize. I am terrible with names, and if you've listened to anything we've done, you know this. Going to nerdsandbeyond.com. Of course, this is by Mal this time around. I've noticed they've changed authors every episode, which is okay, I guess, but I don't know.
Yeah.
At a bar somewhere in Gotham, a group of threatening-looking men come to collect cash from the establishment's owners. The elderly couple hand over a stuffed envelope, but it's not enough. The fact that business has been slow doesn't faze the collectors. Mob gangsters don't get ruffled by their clients. The group's leader smashes all the alcohol bottles lined up on the countertop and sets fire to the bar. The next morning, we see Carrie being woken up by her mother for SAT prep class. They briefly discuss schedules. Carrie's mom is a doctor and will be too busy saving lives to attend the Gotham Academy's parents' luncheon. She questions him why Carrie has muddy boots beside her bed, but Carrie escapes the conversation unscathed. Very, very well done writing for this. At the Belfry, Stephanie has a lead. She's been digging into Cressida's finances and found a shell company she's using, GNS Holdings. From her tax returns, they're dealing with a lot of money. Turner is still fixated on Cressida's betrayal, making sulking barbed comments while the team discusses the ledger. Stephanie has an address for GNS Holdings. It's a big breakthrough because Harper recognizes a why. Because the location belongs to the McKillens, Gotham's most dangerous mob family. Love that name. Little on the nose. Turns out that Harper used to date one of the McKillens, a guy named Dylan. Duella and Stephanie are fascinated and a little hung up on the name, Dylan McKillen. But Colin is affronted. Why did he know about this? Harper says the McKillens laundered money for bad people. It makes sense that they might be moving cash for the Owls, but to prove it, they need to get the records. Turner suggested they try to get their hands on the physical files. That's right, the Bat Brat wants to rob the mob. Carrie voices her displeasure, but as her mom isn't able to go to the parents' luncheon, she finds she can ditch and go with them to investigate. Meanwhile, Harvey Dent has his own investigations. Bruce Wayne's killers are still out there. He has the key to the murdered mayor's car, and now Rebecca March has turned up at his office. She's concerned her husband might have asked Harvey about their relationship, the one they had several years back. Harvey assumes he assures her.
Uh-oh.
Oh, so man, it's all the talking. Reassures her that he spoke to Lincoln about a safety issue and tells her that should stay away from each other, which, no, not fair to her, but whatever. It never is in these situations, but, not really fair to her husband, X, Y, and Z. Later, Harvey goes to visit Dr. Chase Meridian, the GCPD's criminal psychologist. He tries to say that he's asking about a suspect wherever they might be suffering from identity dysmorphia, like Harvey's father did. She sees right through that, and Harvey confides in Chase about his missing memories and the key he found. They discuss his abusive childhood at the hands of his father, who would treat him horrifically, and then swap back to being caring with no memory of what he did. Misha Collins killed this whole scene. And felt very real, very well written again. And Misha just absolutely killed as Harvey did. Chase reassures Harvey that he likely didn't inherit his father's issues. Somewhat dismissively, she tells him that she doesn't think it's anything to worry about. Explaining it all away as a trauma response, she writes him a script for anxiety medication and a check for his mayoral campaign fund. Way too easy. I don't think it was way too easy. It was very... Oh, okay, yeah, you might be having this. Okay, but here's some anti-anxiety medicine, and I'm going to make that the campaign fund. Hashtag she's a part of the Court of Owls. There's no way she's not. She very well, very much dismissed it all. No, I don't think you're going through that. No, you're just being paranoid. Okay. Harvey takes a motorcycle ride out to the lake beyond the city where he throws the mayor's key into the depths. After the evidence is disposed of, his phone rings. It's an unknown number, and when he answers, classical music plays through the speaker, and it fades to black. Turner, Carrie, Duella, and the Road Twins sneak into the McKillens' warehouse and grab the ledger without any trouble. In the same room, Duella discovers a huge stack of money. The vigilantes went to steal it. Oh, reached my point. Even Turner seems to be on board, but Carrie says it belongs to the people of Gotham. While debating ethics, the group are discovered by Dylan McKillen. Harper's attempts to talk them out of the situation lead to a few more revelations. She ditched Dylan and they were together for a job. Dylan is also surprised to find out that Harper has a brother. Dylan decides to try and turn them in and collect the reward money. Carrie manages to knock Dylan out, but not before he makes the call. Duella creates a distraction, buying them a couple of minutes. Over at Gotham Academy, Stephanie has been busy trying to keep her mom from drinking and making a fool of them both in front of everyone, and also throwing off Dr. Kelly, who managed to get her shift switched and came to Gotham Academy looking for her daughter. Stephanie frantically texts Carrie, switches her mom's alcohol out for club soda unsuccessfully, and makes her speak to the student body. Unfortunately, Dr. Kelly runs into more people than just Stephanie. A discussion with Carrie's history teacher reveals that Carrie has been skipping classes. Back in the warehouse with the mob and the GCPD trying to break in, Carrie tries to convince her mom she's at a study group. The team decide that they have to get reckless to escape. They set fire to a stack of newspapers disguised as the money and use the confusion to escape in a van. With Harper behind the wheel, the team leads an epic car chase across the city. The police cars are faster than they are, so their only choice is to slow them down. They do that much to Joelle's horror by throwing money out of the van. Citizens of Gotham flood the streets, grabbing fistful of cash and blocking the GCPD. Gotham News now calls the vigilantes who stole from the McKillans and returned the money to the people, the Gotham Knights. They finally said the thing. Yeah. Carrie barely makes it back in time before her mom arrives, appearing to be asleep. Her mom tucks her in carefully before departing. In a perfect, heartbreaking mirror, we then see Stephanie tucking her mom in where she passed out after the parents' luncheon, scattered pills and alcohol all over the table beside her. Up in the belfry once more, Cullen draws the city skyline emblazoned with the Gotham Knights with multiple different logos and fonts on there. In an emotional scene, he thanks Harper for everything she has done for him. The McKillen's ledger is written in code, though needs Stephanie's help for this one. Finally, we see Harvey waking up in a luxurious bed, confused and scared. He looks around. Clearly, he's had another memory loss episode. All becomes clear when Rebecca March enters the room, climbing on the bed and kissing him. She talks about him calling her. He has no recollection. As soon as she leaves, he rolls over, grabs his phone, checks the log. We see Harper's terror as his phone reveals a long list of calls to Rebecca. Don't know what's going on there. At the beginning of this, I said wasn't sure about this episode, but I'm still fine with it. We got a lot of, in classic CW fashion, we got a lot of B and C background plots that develop in this one, more than we did like the main one, which is fine. You got to have that to flesh out your characters a little bit more, like Harvey. Right. But I'm still lukewarm on this series. But I'm more so liking it more than I'm not liking it, though.
Yeah, it would. I hate to sit here and bash, right? But the one thing that just doesn't work is Turner.
Every single time. It just, like, even Stephanie, and she's hardly a part of the group. Like, even her stuff, I'm like, yeah, I care more about what's going on. And I just don't feel like Turner adds anything to any of this. And his only connection is he was an adopted son of Batman. And that's it.
And I think that's what hurts it. If they had used a character that was canon, there's more of a buy-in.
Yeah, easily could have done something like that, but like I just don't understand why they didn't use Damien and then have Cressida, the Bob character, still be a part of the Court of Owls, and Damien having to deal with that and figuring out, oh no, she's betrayed me and my father. Adds a little bit more, but what do we know? We're not writers. We're not in these writing rooms, but we should be. Yes. What we do know about is Titans episode 7, titled Cowles Foley, directed by Greg Walker. Both episodes are directed by Greg Walker. We're going to High on Films, and this is by I'm gonna butcher your name, my friend, Madhav Mehrotra. I butchered that. I 100% apologize. You can let me know in the comments if you listen to this, or if I tag you on Twitter, just let me know. In the 7th episode of the series, the Blood Moon Ritual marks the completion of Sebastian's transformation into Brother Blood, who assumes leadership of the cult. Mother Mayhem declares his power unmatched, and they plan to bring back his father Trigon, the powerful demon who threatened the world in the early season of Titans. Later, the Titans awaken in the cave, having been transported to the Death Realm by Mayhem's powers. The only one missing is Gar, who somehow managed to save them all, which they all remember somewhat. The group tries to piece together what happened and how they managed to survive. However, the discussion is cut short by the ongoing conflict between Nightwing and Superboy, who disagree on how they should have handled Sebastian when they had the chance to stop him. Meanwhile, Rachel uses her magical powers to release Jinx's spirits from the temple, and they manage to escape. But before leaving, Connor finds a hidden suitcase left by Lex Luthor containing a letter and a book on ancient artifacts and occult magic. Surprisingly, the letter is addressed to Dick Grayson, and it lays out a plan to stop Mother Mayhem, who Lex suspected would eventually betray them. The rest of the letter is addressed to Connor for his eyes only, presumably revealing his Luthor heritage and his connection to the events unfolding around him. The group sets out to decipher the book, which is written in ancient Tamaran. Oh, there we go, I'll spit it out. Dialect that none of them can translate. However, Connor decides to head off on his own. Dick and Corey faced a major obstacle as they were unable to decipher the Tamaranian language in Lex's book. To solve this issue, they sought out the help of Roberta, an eccentric expert in extraterrestrial languages, who was excited to meet a Tamaranian finally. After examining the book, Roberta revealed that it contained a prophecy about the end of the world, and if the blood moon ritual were completed, the son of Trigon would manifest himself in the well of blood on Earth. Roberta also revealed that if Sebastian obtained the mystical horn that Trigon lost in his battle against Tamaranians, he could bring Trigon back to life and give him dominion over Earth. The only way to prevent this from happening was for Starfire to sacrifice herself by unleashing the full potential of her powers that might tackle the might of Trigon. However, this would result in her death. Dick and Corey left Roberta's place with this information, but Dick was not willing to discuss the possibility of Corey sacrificing herself to save the world. While in the Titans RV, Tim engages Rachel in a conversation about her new powers, which she describes as similar to her Raven powers, but without the darkness. Tim also inquires about Connor's intentions, and Rachel believes that they'll eventually return for Crypto, even if he leaves the Titans. Dick and Corey arrive and share the horn-related intel they gathered from Roberta. Tim suggested the text could contain codes that revealed the horn's locations, and after analyzing the data, they obtained the coordinates. Apparently, it appears that Lex left behind clues to help them find the horn. Dick drives the RV to the supposed location of the horn, but they find no trace of it. Oh, ads popped up. Let's see. As they reach the town, there we go. Dick drives the RV to the supposed location of the horn, but they find no trace of it or the cult of blood loyalists guarding it, as mentioned by Roberta. Meanwhile, Starlab's research chief Bernard tracks the team, but Tim ignores his calls due to self-esteem issues. The team decides to move forward, and Tim follows RV with Bernard. As they reach the town of Kyle's Folly, the RV suddenly enters an invisible portal, trapping Dick, Corey, and Rachel in the seemingly stuck-in-time town. Bernard and Tim are unable to follow and try to find a way to use Starlab's gadgets. The inhabitants of the town appear unnaturally happy. The trio ends up in a diner where Rachel is kidnapped by waitress Megan and her father, who believe the Titans are the prophesized bringers of doom. They inform Rachel that the sheriff and the police force are guarding the horn, and if they find out that the Titans are not the prophesized ones, they will kill them. To worsen the situation, the Titans' powers are neutralized by special deterrent and the drinks served to them by Megan at the diner. While Tim and Bernard spend the night at the roadside motel, unable to enter the town, Corey's health deteriorates and the Titans remain trapped. Later, Corey and Dick discover that they cannot leave the town as they are restrained whenever they approach the city limits. In the meantime, Tim and Bernard decide to rekindle their romance after all. And Fury just scared the absolute nonsense out of me coming in here to see what I was doing. Give me 1 second.
I tell you what, I really like...
Scared the bejesus out of me.
I really like where they're going with the episode.
Yes. It's a classic fashion, and but I wanted to ask if you noticed this or if anybody else did. When Dick and Corey are looking at the RV into town, did you notice, because they changed filters when they would look one direction and the other, but his shirt would change colors. So Dick was wearing a green shirt, and then when it showed him from his back, he was wearing a pink shirt. And then it would show back again, he was wearing a green shirt, and they kept doing it. And I was like, it's because they used a filter, and they didn't look at it in post and say, oh, his shirt is changing colors. And that's all it was. It was just a different filter that made his shirt change color.
I spaced. I know they made, in the next episode, they make the comment about his shirt color.
It was very, I just noticed it because I was watching, I don't know if I was watching too hard, but I was watching it, and I was like, did his shirt just change colors? Because I always like to look for goofs like that anyways. Yeah. But it was the filter color. Like they used a warmer color to look out of the town and then a cooler color to look... No, a warmer color looking into town and a cooler color looking out of town. It just changed his shirts up. So it wasn't a different shirt. It was just the filter. After agreeing to meet the sheriff to discuss the artifact, Dick heads to the police station alone, but soon finds himself ambushed by the sheriff and his deputies. He is quickly overpowered and taken outside, where he sees the Church of Blood, led by Brother Blood and Mother Mayhem, waiting for him. Dick realizes he has fallen into a trap and slips into unconsciousness as Sebastian and Mayhem arrive at House Foley with the entire town in tow. And that ends episode 7 of this one.
Yeah.
Not the.
Good episode.
Yeah, it was good. I think it was better though, just because it was a 2-parter and that's how they did it anyways. Speaking, we get right into that one. Episode 8: Dick and Carol and Ted and Corey. Very long title, a lot of ands, and this is directed by Greg Walker again. At the beginning of the 8th episode, Dick and Corey awaken in an ingrained mansion. Their memories foggy, only to discover they've been living there as a couple named Ted and Carol. Bewildered, they return to the town diner in search of Rachel, only to be frequently disoriented by the continuous pervasive songs that permeate the town. They begin to suspect that they have been drugged and that someone has gone to great lengths to create the illusion that they were a permanent fixture of Cal's Foley. At the Church of Blood, Mother Mayhem presents the newly transformed Sebastian Singer to the congregation and impresses them by showcasing his recovery of the Horn of Trigon. She calls upon the church to join them in their mission to find and eliminate Rachel, who is seen as a threat to their cause. Sebastian privately vows to take matters into his own hands and kills Rachel himself, despite considering her his half-sister. During a meeting with Rachel, Sebastian expresses his desire to sever their connection by killing her, but is initially dissuaded by Mayhem. However, Sebastian ultimately decides to go through with his plan and confronts Rachel. Subsequently, he discovers that any harm he inflicts on her also affects him. Rachel reveals to him that Mayhem is using him as a mere pawn in her efforts to bring back Trigon. Have you noticed, by the way, on our Titans React trailer, a lot of it was these first 2 episodes? So I was like, they're trying not to let us know anything else, and I am all about it. I love it when they do that. Let's see. Later, Rachel is kidnapped once again by Mayhem and her followers. Nightwing devises a plan to counter the effects of the town's mind control by using a technique taught to him by Batman. He suggests using negative memories to keep himself and Corey grounded in reality, and they both record their memories. However, the plan fails and Corey becomes even more deeply affected by the town's influence. She loses touch with reality, forgetting even the memory recordings and Rachel's identity. Dick goes head-to-head with Sheriff and his followers in an attempt to locate Rachel. Despite the difficulty in maintaining his sanity and resisting the effects of the music, he manages to defeat his adversaries and free Rachel. Their next objective is to dismantle the radio station to prevent the music from further influencing the townspeople. Meanwhile, Tim and Bernard stumble upon a radio station that is adorned with signs and photos of missing persons in the area. They encounter a boy named William who is waiting and searching for his lost family. It is revealed that William is Megan's brother. Although they still cannot access the entry point, Tim and Bernard devise a plan to utilize audio frequencies to transmit a message to the invisible realm. They succeed by utilizing Bernard's car to power the station. On the other side, Megan and her father receive assurance that escape is feasible. Upon reaching the radio station, Nightwing, Starfire, and Raven find that Starfire still has no recollection of her identity. In the process of stopping the music, Dick also starts to lose his. But Raven reminds him of the night they met and how he saved her. I'm a big sucker for when shows are ending, they use flashbacks to the beginning of what happened. And this is a very, not a long touch, but a very nice touch of what happened at the beginning and how brutal Robin was. I loved it. Taking down the sheriff and his followers of the Church of Blood proves to be easy for Dick as May and Sebastian focus on retrieving the horn. After rescuing Rachel from the church, Dick manages to break into the town's radio station to disable the device responsible for the mind control music. Meanwhile, Corey listens to Grace's memory recordings and remembers her forgotten past. With the music stopped, the citizens are free from influence in the cult. Finally, the Titans are reunited in the outside world, and William is reunited with his sister Megan and their father after a decade of separation. Superboy finds Sebastian in Metropolis and offers to team up with him, now looking almost entirely like Lex Luthor. The radio station, very cool scene on the inside. I don't know who that person was or what that was about, or if he was like a meta or something like that, and they're just amplifying his powers is the only thing I could think of, because once he took away the blood supply, which we don't know where the blood was coming from either, it killed him and stopped his powers. So that's how I took it. But man, this Lex Luthor at the end of the Connor Luthor, or whatever you want to call this guy, not about it. I want my Superboy back. So, but we're back. Titans is back for the until it's over.
And we don't know yet, right, about Doom Patrol, or have we
Well, I
gotten?
haven't heard anything yet, and I've been checking and watching for it, and no, no reveals or anything. I imagine once this one ends, Doom Patrol will come back.
Yeah,
So, which is unfortunate, but what a good
just
show though.
we can't control it, Tyler.
No, I know. I don't have any releases this week on TV, but that is my hour-long TED Talk of our 6 episodes.
So you're doing movies this week too,
Oh
right?
God, no, I can't.
All right, so on to movies, movies.
Movies.
Um, so this week we watched Interceptor on Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Next week we're gonna watch Tetris on Apple Plus.
I'm excited about that one.
Um, I looked at the synopsis on IMDb for Interceptor, and believe it or not, it's too brief. So I'm just gonna go with the synopsis on Wikipedia.
Whatever
As,
works. I'm looking at the IMDb one, and it's one sentence.
yeah. Uh, but I think it's only fair to go with the longer one since you just read, three
Hey,
novels.
whatever you want to do.
So Interceptor does star Elsa Pataki as our main character, J.J. Collins, Captain J.J.
Mm-hmm.
Collins of the U.S. Army. Um, and it does have a nice little. I think it's just a little too much screen time to be called a cameo from one of its executive producers, Chris Hemsworth.
I did not understand it. Like that was very random, just to
It
say,
was,
hey, we've got Chris Hemsworth in our movie.
yeah. Um, so here's the plot. The United States has two interceptor launch sites aimed at intercepting any nuclear warhead launches. The first, Fort Greely in Alaska, is attacked by unknown assailants, presumably affiliated with a terrorist faction, while 16 nuclear warheads are simultaneously seized from Russian territory. The second site is a remote platform in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. U.S. Army Captain J.J. Collins is recently reassigned to the latter of the two interceptor missile launch sites, following the conclusion of a high-profile case where she reported sexual misconduct by one of her superiors. She experienced hazing, bullying, and threats from her peers in the military as revenge, hence her new deployment to this remote station. Under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Marshall and working alongside Beaver and Shaw in the station's command center, Collins finds herself as part of the last line of defense after the hostile takeover of Fort Greely. The station is infiltrated by a small group of operatives led by ex-military intelligence soldier Alexander Kessel, who promptly kill Marshall and the other occupants of the base, leaving only Collins, Shaw, and an unconscious Baker, who was grazed by a stray bullet, as the survivors hold up in the command center. The infiltrators attempt to negotiate entry into the command center by which they can disarm the interceptor system and leave the continental U.S. open to nuclear attack from the 16 stolen warheads. They're rebuffed, however, and attempt to forcibly enter instead with blowtorches. An operative launches a surprise attack after entering via a floor hatch, but is defeated and killed by Collins and Shaw. Beaver regains consciousness and reveals himself to be an inside man for the infiltrators and motivated by a big payday and xenophobia.
Shocker. Who didn't see that coming?
Right. Holding both Collins and Shaw at gunpoint while allowing Kessel and the remaining operatives to enter and assume control. Uh, yeah, Baker was very much your stereotype character
Yeah.
that doesn't really have patience for anyone that doesn't look like him. Um, Kessel hijacks a live feed and streams his manifesto about the failures in the history of the United States online, naming the 16 American cities to be destroyed and instructing the terrorist faction to launch the nukes immediately. Collins breaks free of her restraints and locks Kessel, Beaver, and a henchman back out of the command center while defeating and killing Kira, the lone enemy operative still in the room, and another henchman. Kessel attempts to force Collins to surrender, torturing her father, but she refuses and her father is apparently killed when the transmission is cut. Kessel turns to Plan B, initiating the station's scuttling protocol, hoping to sink the station if he cannot take control of it. As the station begins to sink, Shaw volunteers to drop through the floor hatch to the ocean below and manually re-engage the station's hatches in order to slow down the station from sinking, such that the interceptors are still able to launch and destroy the warheads when they eventually pass through the airspace overhead. Shaw succeeds, but he's killed by Beaver.
Mm.
Collins decides to make a risky gamble, hiding in the command center and letting Kessel, Beaver, and the remaining henchmen take over and disable the seemingly empty center. Her ruse works, with Beaver going to check up on the station's roof to find and eliminate her. Collins is able to stealthily dispatch the remaining henchmen while Kessel flees the room. Grabbing a laptop, Collins ascends to the roof and plugs the device in, hoping to manually launch the interceptor missiles using this method. She's found by Beaver, however, and the two engage in hand-to-hand combat, with Collins emerging victorious after using razor wire to decapitate Beaver. That was a very cool
Yeah, that was probably my favorite kill of the whole film. Because she,
Yeah.
like, it's. I'll say what I said when it get done. But she says
He
he said,
says you
little
don't think
barbed wires are
crazy.
going to kill me.
Right.
And she said, yeah, but gravity will. And it just chopped his head off. I was like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah,
I
there you
don't
go.
know medically if that's possible. But, for the sake of this, I'd say it could be.
It was a pretty good fall, so there's a
Yeah.
lot of force.
Yeah, and I guess those wires are real thin, too. So it's not like it's like a rope or something where it would just
Right.
do blunt damage. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. But it looked good. Um, Kessel, who had called in a Russian submarine to pick up the team of operatives earlier, finds Collins just as she successfully launches the interceptor missiles, with a fraction of a second left before the nukes would have crossed the point of interception. This was well done because
Yes.
she's scrambling up, and I'm like, she's not gonna get there.
Mm-mm. In theory,
She,
let's be honest, that time would have expired a long time ago. And then the
yeah,
one where the big gap where they used the big epic music, and there's a huge gap, and only got one arm, she swings. I was like, okay, all right, that's not possible. But and then like she gets up there and just lays on the floor for a little bit, and then goes all the way up there and launches them. Like that 5 minutes or whatever was left, 2.5 minutes was already done. There's no way. Even if you had two arms.
but it was very, very well
Yeah.
uh, done for the suspense factor.
Yeah.
His plan failed. He engages in combat with Collins, who manages to defeat and subdue him just as the Russian submarine ascends from the sea. A pair of Russians emerge from the submarine tower, but rather than shooting Collins, they fire at Kessel instead, and the Russian captain salutes Collins before departing. Collins later recovers from her ordeal in the hospital, and she is personally given a promotion by the U.S. president for her efforts. She also receives a visit of her father, who had been rescued by friends who had witnessed his plight on the live broadcast, and he comforts her over her grief for Shah's death. He also brought her the turtle, Turbo,
Mm-hmm.
to help in that. Now, one of my favorite kills, I like the razor wire kill here. Earlier in the film, when they're they initially try to get in there and take the control room, and she's fighting the big dude.
Mm-hmm.
She takes her gun and she just stabs
Yeah,
him
just
through the
jams it in the eyeball. He falls backwards with it.
I'm
There were
like,
some good kills in this one.
yeah,
Even the
it,
lady with the little the foam patch, like in the mouth,
uh-huh,
was a
yeah.
pretty cool one. And she lived after spitting it out and stuff like that. I thought that was real cool.
Um,
Um,
I gave it 2 stars.
I gave it 2 stars as well.
It's just it. I don't know how, because you were obviously born after I was. This reminded me of an updated version of a lot of 80s, early 90s action
Yes,
films.
that's exactly what I told Jamie. Because I asked
Like,
her if she wanted to watch this. And she goes, I don't know if I have time. She goes, just watch on your own. Because I went on work yesterday. It's okay. And that's what she goes, well, how was it? And I was like, it reminded me a lot of like 90s, 80s action movies. The music, the suspense factor of it all. It's like, if you like those 80s and 90s action movies, you'll love this movie.
yeah,
And that's the best way I could pitch this movie. If you like those
yeah.
kinds, then you'll like this one.
It's well paced. It's only like an hour and 38 minutes
Mm-hmm.
long, so that's great. It doesn't overstay its welcome, but it's just you're thrown. It's one of those where you're thrown right into it.
Yeah.
There's really not a lot of background. You get a little bit throughout the movie, and you're asked to just go go with the story, buy what's happening. This is just a fun ride with some gunplay, some explosions, some
Chris Hemsworth for Chris Hemsworth's sake.
yeah, and they so when they go live with the I guess it would be the
Emergency
CCTV feed.
broadcast system.
Um, they cut to this retail store in Los Angeles, and, and this guy's selling people TVs, and it's obviously Chris
Yeah.
Hemsworth. I mean, he's got on like a brown wig
And glasses, but that's
and
it.
glasses,
Same
but
beard and
yeah, it's him. It looks like he was definitely in between Marvel movies
yeah.
because he looked like he wasn't as jacked as he is when he plays Thor.
Mm-hmm.
He was, and I know they did it with CGI and stuff
They
and
probably
makeup,
filmed his
but
whole thing in half a day, if that.
yeah,
Because I mean, he was maybe a total of 5 minutes, and that includes the post-credit scene,
yeah,
and which
which is just
was not even necessary to the movie.
no,
It was like we
he's
have to
just
give him so much screen time, so we'll put this in there. That's
post credit scene is him reclined back in the TV department
one of
at
the
the store.
massage chairs, dude.
Yeah,
Oh man, it was. I don't know.
um,
It's an action movie.
it was. I mean, check it out.
Yeah,
It's entertaining.
and it's only an hour and a half of your life. Nothing too crazy to worry
Yeah,
about. Good
but
kills.
yeah, it was on the list for a while. We
Hmm.
were thinking of something to watch this past week, going, let's make it that.
Yeah,
Let's see what it's about. And I'm glad we did.
right.
I don't know if I'll watch it again,
I don't think I will either.
um,
Oh man.
unless I'm doing a run through Chris Hemsworth's career and I want to be super inclusive of everything that he did, then I'll see it then. But
Probably not though.
probably not. Good
Oh man.
performances,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's there's nothing here that's
Very generic, like lines and writing. I felt like some of the
yeah,
quips were very generic, and like you could call the plot from a mile away. And I was like, oh, okay. That was
yeah.
very weird timing, though, because of what's everything's going on in Russia right now.
Yeah,
And I was like, ooh, don't know if I'd
it
want
came
to be divulging these secrets to the world, if that's really the secrets.
it came out last year,
Yeah.
so we're a little bit late getting to it, but um, cool. Yeah, next week Tetris, which is
Yes.
supposed to be really, really good.
Heard nothing
Um,
but great things about it.
and no movie news this week. We do have some releases. Releases. We have on Wednesday, April 19th, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always,
I'll be watching that this weekend.
um, minus Amy Jo Johnson.
And, oh, God, the actor that died.
Jason David Frank.
Yes. Both of them, I don't think they were able to do it or something like that. And
Well, he definitely wasn't, right?
no. Well, this was before,
Oh, it
unfortunately,
was
his.
before
Yeah.
he died.
And because they
Which
approached both of them and they didn't do it. Yeah.
that's weird because in his case, I mean, he was always at the conventions.
All in on
So,
being the Green Ranger.
yeah, so you would think he would have shown up.
No. Unless it was like the script wasn't good or there's got to be
It's pow-
something else, and something else will come out about it, I'm sure.
it's Power Rangers. How you gonna
Yeah.
be like, no, the
I'm
script's
not
not
doing
good.
this. The thing that made me, I'm not doing it. But
It's.
who knows?
I don't think it was ever known for great scripts.
Right. That's true. I'm going to watch it, though, and I'll let you know.
Okay.
Because we're big Power Ranger, like the original Power Ranger fans here. Because, Amy Johnson, whew, first crush.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
just how it is.
In cinemas on April 21st, Evil Dead Rise.
It looks horrifying, and I'm not watching it. So,
And also April 21st on Apple TV Plus. Not just Apple TV, but
yeah,
Apple
yeah,
TV Plus.
plus.
Ghosted.
It's got, who's it got in it? It's got someone famous. There's a lot of famous people in it. But, It's an action comedy. That's what it is. So, game wise, been playing anything crazy?
Nothing crazy. I'm still loving MLB The Show.
It's weird because I haven't had a whole lot of time. So I have been with Stella, my youngest, playing a lot of Kingdom Hearts when we can, the
Yep.
original, because it's got that Disney factor in it. It's not too terribly bad to play, so we'll play it like maybe an hour or two a night, most nights, and loving it. I think I've put 3 hours in Ghostwire Tokyo since it's on Game Pass. I am loving that game. It's a Bethesda game, and I'm just enjoying it so far. Stories, okay, but the gameplay of it I enjoy, and I'm kind of mad I didn't pick it up when it came out, but now I'm getting it for free, so can't really argue there. Releases this week: Minecraft Legends, which I'll be checking out because it comes on Game Pass as well. Comes out on everything April 18th. Puzzle Quest 3 comes out on your consoles April 18th. Final Fantasy 1 through 6 Pixel Remaster for PlayStation and Switch April 19th. Horizon Forbidden West DLC Burning Shores April 19th. I'm playing that. I've got a big week of games this week. And then Dead Island 2 for everything comes out April 21st, which is another game I will be getting because I have been waiting for that one for a while. So I've got Horizon Forbidden West to play, Minecraft Legends I want to check out, and Dead Island 2. So hopefully next week I can talk about all of those. But we'll see how much I get into it all. Horizon Forbidden West obviously is my priority though. So, but man, 3 days.
Cool.
Can't wait. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the Nerdwide podcast. We are glad to be back. Everything resumes as normal next week. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where you see all of our reactions to all the hot trailers and everything out, and as well as our episodes that air. So make sure you subscribe there, especially to our reacts. We are doing, I think, some of our best work there, talking and theorizing, and I do think the more and more I think about it, the Inhumans are coming back in the Marvels. But you'll have to check out that reaction to find out why. Chris convinced me of that. Don't forget to share on all your favorite social media platforms, and forget to rate and review this podcast on whatever podcasting service you use. On social media, you can follow the Nerdwide account on Twitter at nerd_wide. You can follow me personally at Ty_Haynes, although I am posting a lot of Grizzlies stuff because we are in playoff season. You can follow Chris at MavTN7. On Facebook, you can search Nerdwide, Nerdwide Podcast, nerdwide.com. Or the first thing that pops up, like us on Facebook. On those two social media websites, that's where you get the newest news of whatever, if we have anything to tell you guys before the episode comes out. So make sure you're following us on either one of those. And as always, this has been this week's episode of the Nerdwide Podcast, and we can't wait to get back to our regularly scheduled programming next week with you guys. So we'll see you then. Everyone have a great week, and don't forget to subscribe.
Later, guys.